They call it one of the most effective fighting arts in the world. Its Grandmaster said he can drop a man with just one touch. Then the cameras rolled and this Grandmaster of Wing Chun ended up flailing on the floor like a little schoolboy in a playground fight. No dim mak, no so-called death touch, no centerline theory, just fear, adrenaline, chaos, and the sound of another martial arts myth being exposed to the world. Let's check it out. Today, I'm going to show you real fight footage that exposes the cult of the Grandmaster for what it truly is, a charade. This single delusion has done more damage to the martial arts world than any street thug ever could. You'll see how Wing Chun Kung Fu, the myth of dim mak, and the worship of paper tiger masters all collapse when reality shows up. This isn't style versus style, it's truth versus fantasy. And after watching this, you'll understand why every serious fighter should bury both the word Grandmaster and the illusion of Wing Chun once and for all. Let's get something straight. Grandmaster means absolutely nothing in a real fight. It's a marketing trick stitched together by ego, mythology, and students who've never faced real-world violence. The idea that one man draped in silk and titles holds secret knowledge of death touches or invisible strikes is complete bullshit. And here's the kicker. If the so-called unbeatable Wing Chun collapses like a house of cards, what does that say about its offspring, Jeet Kune Do? Bruce Lee himself called Wing Chun the nucleus of JKD. So when the core is rotten, everything built upon it is doomed to fail. Watch this entire video, because by the end, you won't just see the collapse of Wing Chun. You'll see why Jeet Kune Do will never be respected as a true reality-based combat solution. Back in my early teens, I actually met Chung, the supposed Grandmaster of Wing Chun Kung Fu. He came to teach a private seminar, and even then I was skeptical from the moment he walked in. Things just did not add up. He carried himself like an arrogant child, boasting that he could beat anyone, anywhere, and at any time. He talked about having dim mak, the so-called death touch, and told wild stories about fighting off a dozen triad gang members on a steamer ship. He even claimed that as a kid, he used to defeat Bruce Lee in fights. It all sounded like pure fantasy, and even as a teenager, I knew it. Years later, when the infamous fight with Emin Boztepe surfaced, it confirmed everything I already knew. Watching Chung flail and crumble under real pressure did not shock me. It just proved every suspicion I'd had from day one. The facade was gone and the world finally saw what I'd seen all along. Here's the backstory of the fight. By the mid-1980s, the Wing Chun world had split into two warring groups. Chung declared himself the true heir of traditional Wing Chun, while Lian Ting's camp claimed their lineage was authentic Wing Chun. Both sides traded insults, titles, and legends, each trying to crown their own Grandmaster. You could not open a martial arts magazine back then without seeing Chung's face splashed across the cover, posing with his wooden dummy, talking about the secrets of Wing Chun or issuing challenges to anyone who disagreed. His arrogance wasn't hidden, it was celebrated. I know because I was there. At the time, I was regularly featured in many of those same magazines. I watched firsthand as his self-promotion turned myth into marketing and arrogance into headlines. In fact, Chung publicly claimed he was the best fighter in Wing Chun style and offered to prove it anytime and anywhere. In September 1986, during one of Chung's seminars in West Germany, Emin Boztepe, a senior Wing Chun practitioner under Lian Ting's organization, stepped forward to settle a public debate. Now, according to multiple accounts, a verbal challenge was made. Words were exchanged in front of the group before Boztepe charged across the floor and crashed into Chung. What followed wasn't structured Wing Chun Kung Fu. It was pure chaos. In seconds, Chung was driven to the ground, his Wing Chun system shattered under raw aggression and gravity. The Grandmaster finally met reality and myth hit the floor first. Here is the actual footage. It's grainy, but it captures something critical, something almost everyone misses. Both of these men, Chung and Boztepe, were supposed to be Wing Chun experts. They shared the same lineage, the same centerline science, the same promise of unbeatable efficiency. But the second fist started flying, every trace of Wing Chun vanished. No sticky hands, no chain punches, no dim mak. What you actually see here is fear, panic, and adrenaline doing all of the work. Two so-called masters flailing like fish thrown onto concrete. No awareness, no composure, no control. It's actually embarrassing. And that's the truth the Wing Chun and Jeet Kune Do cultists never want to face. They sweep it under the rug and pretend it never happened. But when violence gets real, every elegant form, every sacred drill, every centerline fantasy evaporates. If the so-called purist, I'm sorry guys, I can't keep a straight face. If the so-called purist practitioners of Wing Chun can't make it work against each other, what chance does it have against working against a real street predator who isn't following choreography or pulling punches? This was not just the collapse of two egos. It was the public unmasking of Wing Chun built on fantasy and self-delusion. After seeing this footage, two supposed experts, one of them the Grandmaster, rolling on the floor like kids in a playground fight, how can anyone still believe that this stuff works in real fighting? What more proof do people need? I mean, we're not talking about beginners here. These are the poster boys of Wing Chun Kung Fu, the guys who were supposed to represent the art at its highest level. And the moment real pressure hits, everything collapses. No technique, no structure, no control, just panic, fear, and gravity doing all the fighting. Hey, we're about to get back into the video, but let me ask you something. Do you want to legitimately accelerate your self-defense skills? And are you sick of clickbait videos teaching absolute garbage? Or tired of being misled by unqualified wannabe experts who have zero credibility or experience? If the answer is yes, now is the time to join my War Machine memberships. As a member, you're going to get exclusive access to in-depth training videos, exclusive full-feature video content, downloadable training PDFs, and direct insights you're not going to find anywhere else. Plus, you're going to have direct access to me in the comment section of all my videos. So if you have questions, you're going to get real, detailed answers from me and not some random keyboard warrior. So if you're serious about mastering real-world combat skills, hit the join button below and start training like a true war machine. Now, let's get back to the lesson. And still, people cling to this nonsense. They treat these martial arts like religion. Blind faith, no evidence, no results. Where's the critical thinking? Where's the basic common sense? How does a grown man convince himself that invisible energy lines and death touches have any place in real-world self-defense? It's truly unbelievable. But I guess that's the power of delusion. It keeps breathing long after reality has kicked its teeth in. And this isn't just about sloppy fighting. It's about a total lack of combat structure. No pre-contact assessment, no de-escalation, no control of range, no range proficiency. I can go on and on. Just two men with fancy titles reacting on instinct because their martial arts never trained them to prepare for real chaos. That's why martial arts like Wing Chun and Jeet Kune Do will never qualify as reality-based combat solutions. They teach nonsense, not reality. And let's not forget, Bruce Lee himself used to boast that Wing Chun was the nucleus of Jeet Kune Do. That was supposed to be its root, its DNA. So if this is what happens when two Wing Chun masters fight, what does that say about the martial art that grew from it? And before the Jeet Kune Do man children start their usual song and dance, that was traditional Wing Chun, not Bruce Lee's version. Save the bullshit. You can't keep rewriting history every time the truth hurts. If the nucleus is rotten, the cell doesn't survive. Wing Chun is the nucleus. It's not my claim, it's straight from your own authority. In fact, on page 23 of Jeet Kune Do, The Art and Philosophy of Bruce Lee by Dan Inosanto, he explicitly writes the following, and I quote, "I think it is safe to say that Wing Chun does in fact form the nucleus of Jeet Kune Do. For only with a basic foundation that is already stripped down practically to the essentials could he have made such rapid and amazing strides in the development of his own art." End of quote. That is word for word confirmation, not interpretation or rumor. It's from a direct source written by Bruce Lee's most trusted student and published authority on Jeet Kune Do. And to all the pathetic Jeet Kune Do channels pumping out counter videos, let's not pretend. Everyone watching knows exactly what you're doing. You're starving for content and desperate for views. And the second you slap my name or my face on your thumbnails, your analytics spike. It's predictable. You can't build credibility off my name, so you leech off it instead. And what's also predictable is how none of you can argue the facts. When I released Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do is useless in a fight, it generated nearly 1,000 comments, and every counter video you made followed the same absurd script. You cherry-picked one or two lines, twisted them out of context, and ignored the laundry list of gaps and omissions I exposed in that video. Not one of you addressed them. You danced around it, deflected, and dodged, just like the idol you worship. You don't make counter arguments. You make tribute videos. The only thing you're proving is who really sets the standard for reality-based self-defense. Thank you. Hear me loud and clear. The truth remains. Jeet Kune Do is not and never was a reality-based self-defense solution. And deep down, you know it. Class dismissed. You may go now. And I always get people who arrogantly ask in the comments, well then, what do you recommend for a real-world self-defense if this isn't the answer? Well, the answer is already in this video. Contemporary fighting arts exists because every martial art suffers from the same fatal weakness. They train for fantasy, not reality. Some chase sport, some worship ritual. Others obsess over lineage, as if violence gives a shit. But none of them confront the full reality of real violence. I've been saying it for decades. CFA was built for the physical, psychological, tactical, and aftermath dimensions of combat that the others ignore. It prepares you for the fight before, during, and after the encounter, not the sanitized versions seen in gyms or martial art demonstrations. It's not about opinion or ego. It's about logic, common sense, and critical thinking. Period. The video you just watched proves how much nonsense exists in the martial arts world. If you're clinging to any martial art as gospel and haven't trained for real violence, you're one bad night away from being dead in the streets. Embrace reality-based training, or don't be surprised when fantasy fails you. And if that truth offends you, it says more about your tribal loyalty than it does about me. This video serves as your wake-up call. If you can watch this and still believe in Wing Chun Kung Fu or its offspring like Jeet Kune Do, you're beyond saving. I can't give you clearer proof than this. Two supposed masters, both trained in the same science of combat, ended up rolling on the ground like confused children. That's not combat. That's a joke. The truth is simple. Systems built on Wing Chun theory are garbage for real-world self-defense. They ignore the adrenaline dump, the chaos, and the sheer brutality of real fighting. Just illusion packaged as a sacred discipline. So do yourself a favor. Stop pretending that fantasy will save you. The street doesn't care about your lineage, your sifu, or your sacred centerline. It only cares about one thing: whether you can function when someone's trying to take your life. That's the difference between martial arts and reality-based combat. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys at the next video.